Good evening, everyone. So we were looking at the Gemara, in which it challenges probably on the right dot. Yosef Rav Safra Rav Acha bar Huna, Rav Huna bar Chanina, v'Yosef Ka'omer, l'Rabba alibas Rab Nechemia, hani ka'aris heichem and taltel linon. So according to Rabba's understanding of Rabbi Nechemia, where a keli can only be taken LeTsorech miyuchad la, and that excludes tzorech makomo according to Rabba, how can you ever tidy up the ka'aris? That's the Gemara's question, and it doesn't bring a makar that you can tidy up the ka'aris. It's obvious that you can tidy the plates away. Answers the Gemara. Omra lehu Rav Safra midi dehava agraf shel rei. So Rav Safra answers that there's a different heter to move them away. That these are agraf shel rei. Their agraf shel rei was a potty, basically, a type of a container that people used to use as a potty of sorts. And this is mo'us. This is something disgusting, and therefore there is a heter. Ostensibly, a graf shel rei should be Muktza. What Muktza? Why would a graf shel rei be Muktza? Which Muktza would it be? Muktza machmas mias. Yes. So even though it's a keli, and a keli is used is mutter on Shabbos, and it's not a klish mlachta issa. There's no issa in its use. Nonetheless, once used, it becomes something disgusting, and therefore is negated from any other use, and ostensibly should be Muktza. Nonetheless, the heter of graf shel rei allows one to move it away, so one doesn't have to live with profoundly unpleasant objects remaining in one's living space. So the very thing which causes the graf shel rei to become Muktza, when it's indoors in a home, is the thing which allows the graf shel rei to be moved because of Muktza machmas mios. That's the thing. Well, yes.
You can ignore the question if you want, because it's like a bit. Would it not also be nolad?
No, because the concept of nolad is something which in and of itself should be non-mukta coming into existence. So an egg is laid on Yom Tov. An egg is a food item. In and of itself, it's a usable thing. Had it been laid before Yom Tov, it would be non-mukta. It would be muchan. It's muchan to be eaten. Nonetheless, since it came into existence on Shabbos or Yom Tov, it's not muchan because it wasn't there before. Here, more than no, it's not a muchan thing. It's a useless entity. Not just is it useless, but something which sullies everything around it, such that it makes the keli not muchan for any other use, and therefore the keli becomes muksa machmas mios, and nonetheless it's mutter to use because of the heter of graf shel rei. Therefore, says the Gemara that misvara, the same svara, should apply according to Rabbi Nechemia. Rabbi Nechemia has a very tight view of Muktza. He holds even a ka'ara, which is a profoundly useful keli, would be a graf, would be Muktza. Nonetheless, the heter of graf shel rei would apply to ka'aras. That's the summary. Do we agree? That's the summary of the Gemara.
Could I ask? In reality, if we just talk about plate or cutlery that's been used for a meal, I'm not speaking clear, yeah?
No, I'm not hearing you. It could be the reception's not good.
It could be on my fault. So let me try again, and if it doesn't work, I'll cut out.
Okay.
If it's just a piece of cutlery or crockery you've used for a meal, it's not in any way revolting, like a chamber.
Right, okay. So I caught the gist of the question. Gary's asking. I mean, it's just remnants of a meal. It's not revolting, which feeds into the next point I was going to make, actually. So first of all, in our Gemara, you see that greasy remains of food is enough to be considered graf shel rei. It's not pleasant to leave around, even though it's not mo'us like a potty would be, but it's just not. It's horrible. It's not nice to leave sort of half remnants of food around, and that's enough for the heter of graf shel rei. What I was going to ask is this Gemara a source that unwashed dishes are also Muktza machmas mius or not? In other words, is there a Goldilocks zone in which you can have a heter of graf shel rei? It's disgusting enough that you wouldn't want to leave it around, and that gives you the allowance of moving it, without it being disgusting enough to be Muktza machmas mius, or are the two concepts interlinked? So if you're saying it's mutter because of graf shel rei, then in that also lies an issa. When the Gemara answers, no, the answer is according to Nechemia, you can tidy it up because you want to avoid because of the heter of graf shel rei. Is the Gemara also now indicating that it would be Muktza machmas mius, in which case, leaving aside from Nechemia, everyone would agree it's Muktza. And once we have this answer of graf shel rei, and it occurs to us how disgusting ka'oros are, it would turn out that we could have asked l'kol ha'alma, how can you ever tidy up ka'oros? Surely they're Muktza machmas mius, and the answer would have been heter of graf shel rei. So your point, Gary, is a good one. How disgusting does something have to be for graf shel rei? And inherent in that is another nidum which I wasn't planning to go into too much, but whether because it's a bit off topic, is there another shocking chiddush in the Gemara that ka'oros are Muktza because of graf shel rei? And it's not a simply resolved question. Because that's all I'll say. There's various Mara Makomas around this. It's not an easy question to answer. Sorry, Jeffrey. Oh, you were going to ask the same thing? Yeah, excellent. Yes, Asha.
What does I understand graf shel rei? It's that it's no longer Muktza, or you have a separate.
No, it is Muktza, but there's an allowance to move it out of the house. If it was outside the house, if there was a graf shel rei in the garden, you couldn't move it. And once it's out of the house, you can't move it. Whether you need to put it down immediately once you've taken it out of the house is in the way what we're going to discuss in a few moments in a different context. Okay, so that's really really pretty much what I wanted to say on that those lines of the Gemara. But I want to step back and look at a bigger issue. It is a little bit funny, by the way. I mean, just in terms of this question, because the Gemara seems to indicate that ka'oros are not Muktza, according to anyone other than Rabbi according to Rav Nachman, according to Rabbi Nechemia. I'm sorry. In other words, the Gemara asks, according to Rabbi's understanding of Nechemia, how can you move the ka'oros? But according to everyone else, it's not fair that we tidy up. There's no difficulty that we tidy up. In the answer to the Gemara, it opens the possibility that it turns out we could have really asked the question on more opinions, if that's what the Gemara means. And again, it's a little beyond the scope of our discussion to go too far into that particular conundrum. Yeah, Max, yes.
Is that indicative that it's not exactly the same?
No, the Gemara says it's as a graf shel rei, meaning it's the graf shel rei has become a halachic concept. There's a topic, a halachic concept called a graf shel rei, and this is analogous to that, and therefore has the same din. It isn't a graf shel rei. It's not a potty. It's a plate with chicken bones on. But the Gemara is saying it should have the same halach as a graf shel rei. Does the Gemara mean it's mos or simply it has the heter of graf shel rei? Not entirely clear. Okay, so that's that for our purposes is sort of as far as I want to go in that direction. What I do want to speak about, and I put I printed the Rashba for this, is because this is a very, very important. This is one of 2 or 3 halachic sources in the whole of Shas really around a very, very nogea shaila, which is once you have Muktza in your hands, can you carry on moving it? So the Rashba, and I hope everyone saw the Rashba. The Rashba and the Biur Hagra also, incidentally, and the just the Rashba and the Biur Hagra, both really make the same point, which is that from our sugya, l'chora, you can prove that once you pick up something, LeTsorech makomai, you don't have to immediately drop it as soon as you've moved it out of the necessary space, but you can put it down wherever is convenient, because the Gemara indicates that were ka'oros to be allowed to be moved LeTsorech makomam, for example, according to Rava as opposed to Rabba, we would understand how you can tidy up plates after your Shabbos meal. Now, surely that doesn't justify how you can tidy up plates. All it would allow you to do is move plates the minimum distance to clear the table for whatever you need to do. It wouldn't allow you to put them away. So the same raya of the Gemara, which is everyone tidies their tables. There's no brisa that says this. It's just this is what you do. Could have taught us. It tells us that we don't say that as soon as you lift them off the table to clear space for Shabbos lunch for the next day, as soon as you tidy up tidy them away from the Friday night meal, you just have to move them the minimum amount necessary to lay the table Shabbos morning. You can tidy them away. You can put them away. So if you can put them away, you see that the heter of Tzorech Makomoi doesn't mean that you have to put something down immediately, but you can move it to where you want it to go. So again, just to summarize, we're going in Rabbi Nechemia. We don't pass like Rabbi Nechemia. But Rabbi Nechemia holds that even a klishim after the heter can't be moved without specific heterim. For example, Tzorech Makomoi. And you see, according to Rava, Tzorech Makomoi. And you see the Gemara has never bothered, according to Rava, how you can tidy up, because you can tidy up the Tzorech Makomoi. So you see that the heter of Tzorech Makomoi is enough to move something, and you don't have to immediately put it down. Once it's in your hand, you can carry on moving it around. Therefore, by extension, we can extrapolate la halacha to our halacha. We hold that klishim lachtan has is mutter. We don't agree with the Nechemia, but klishim lachtan issa we agree is mukta. But you're only allowed to move it LeTsorech makomoi. If you've lifted up a mukta item, LeTsorech makomoi, your pen, your phone is on the Shabbos table. You forgot to tidy up. Once you've lifted it up to move it LeTsorech makomoi, do you have to put it down in the nearest spot, or can you put it away on your desk that it's not around over the rest of Shabbos, so you don't, or Mechaman you don't want it to get damaged, that you want your kids to get to it, so you just want to put it away. You weren't allowed to pick it up Mechaman, but once it's in hands, can you move it to a convenient space? That's the Shaila. And the Rashba and the Vilna Gaon are Mechiach that you can, and this seemingly enters Shulchan Aruch. So just to say what I was doing with the sources, I quoted the Rashba on the Gemara. Then I brought the Shulchan Aruch, who says that laniche be'ezer makom sheyetzer. So that's the Shulchan Aruch says. Let's just read the Shulchan Aruch. Klishim lachtan issa mutzah l'taltalei. A klishim lachtan issa you can move it. I'm passing this wrong. Let's say your mutter l'taltalei bein LeTsorech gufay bein LeTsorech makomoi. It's allowed. So bein LeTsorech gufay could go in corner shots of him. So you have a silversmith's, a goldsmith's hammer, oin of fachim, or of blacksmiths. If so, it goes into our classic case, a hammer which you pick up to crack nuts with, or kadam lachdich b'devela, our Mishnah. You're allowed to move it bein LeTsorech gufay or bein LeTsorech makomoi. So I'm tzarich lahashtamish b'makom shakli menachsham, or mutzah lo little misham or lanicha be'ezer makom sheyetzer. So the Shulchan Aruch says that you're allowed to pick up a klishim lachtan issa and move it LeTsorech gufay, like a hammer to use it to crack nuts, or LeTsorech makomoi because the hammer's sitting on your Shabbos table and you want to eat there. And he carries on, and your mutzah lahanicha be'ezer makom sheyetzer. You're allowed to put it down where you want. I.e., you don't have to put it down immediately, but you can put it down when you want. Where do we get this halacha from? You can put it down where we want. Says the Vilna Gaon, again based on our Gemara. So just to summarize, Shulchan Aruch says a klishim lachtan issa you can pick up LeTsorech gufay LeTsorech makomoi. Once you pick it up LeTsorech makomoi, you can put it down wherever you want. And the Rashba and the Vilna Gaon say the sources from our Gemara. In a moment we'll analyze this, but that's the Gemara. Yes, Max.
Same way that we answered the question Robert Rosh Hashanah. Can we have a sort of in-between thing with Robert, who may allow it, but he doesn't allow it as much as we're saying, because of Rosh Hashanah. Doesn't allow you to carry it wherever.
So the Rashba assumes he extrapolates he assumes that the heter of moving ka'aros, which again, that's why I keep saying the Gemara doesn't bring a brisa for it. It just understands it's mutter. It's obviously mutter. It doesn't bring a Mishnah or a brisa that says mutter. So the Rashba says, you see, what's this movement? A proper movement all the way out of your living space, like with Rosh Hashanah in the answer. And then from the Svara, that you see the Tzorech makomoi allows that. It wouldn't necessarily be a good svara if we had a narrow halachic source which you could begin picking at and saying how far does it allow. But the whole makor is from like an assumption of the Gemara that you can move things around. Yeah, you can move cars around. Yeah.
You could read the Gemara and saying that it's true that the Gemara doesn't ask the question of Rabban, because you might have as far as it does certain Gemara, but really the reason according to Rabbi and Rabbi, is the Rosh array, and actually there isn't a heter to move wherever you like. So we're reducing something by the fact that the question is not asked. But that's not a positive proof. It could just be that it was a stronger question to ask Rabbi than Rabbi because of the side of
So your question is right in that as an answer to a problem, we might have to say what you said, but it's not a super smooth reading of the Gemara. Normally, if the Gemara asks, according to Rabbi, how can you move Ka'aras, the implication is that according to Rabbi, that's not difficult. There's no problem with it. So occasionally, the Rishonim will use a device like yours, and they'll say, but surely it's a question of Kol Alma. And they'll say, yeah, it's the Gemara asked the strongest question, but it's not a neat reading of a sugya. The simplest reading of the Gemara is that if it asks on Rabbi, it means that according to Rabbi, it is allowed. Translation, Rabbi who doesn't allow moving the cane to LeTsorech and Koma, how can you tidy up the plates? But Rabbi who says you can, LeTsorech and Koma, tidy up the plates as you wish. How can you tidy up the plates as you wish? You've still got restrictions, LeTsorech and Koma. Answers, LeTsorech and Koma is a very broad hatter. Once you've got it in your hands, you can put it down where you want.
Is it so obvious that putting the plates away is really putting them away? I mean, if it's a Rosh array, how does moving the plate from your table to somewhere else in your house? How do you use it? You still kept it in your house.
So I don't know in the olden days how they tidied up plates, and maybe they put them outdoors. But nowadays, so it bothers you in your dining room, and it doesn't bother you in your kitchen sink, yeah. Or it doesn't bother you in your loaded dishwasher, wherever it is, yeah. So there's different sorts of uses of space. Yeah.
And is there any, can we sort of clarify exactly what it means moving something to the place you want? So what if you move and you stop halfway, or you get distracted? You haven't put it down, or maybe you have put it down?
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of ways that you can move something.
Yes.
Way to be.
So this is what we're going to analyze. What we need to work out is what are the parameters of this heter, and what's the reason for this heter once it's in your hand. I mean, why should you be allowed to put it down anywhere? And there's a whole array of scenarios that we can begin thinking about. So in brief, the headlines of what we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about, it is a little off sugya, this, in the sense that it's a diuk of the Rashba in the sugya, but it happens to be the place in Shas where this halacha is taught to us. So we're going to spend a bit of time analysing, and it's also massively nogei halacha l'maisa. So we're going to just try and take this down halacha. I did print the Gon, the Magen Avon, the Mishnah Berurah, so I tried to sort of print some of the Shatzi and some of the halachic sources around this. But just as an introduction, a series of questions spring to mind. So what we've said so far is that if you pick something up LeTsorech Makomo, you can carry on moving it to wherever it's convenient. Is this a general rule of great breadth, that whenever you have Muktza in your hand, once it's in your hand, you need not put it down immediately, but you can put it down whenever it's convenient? That's the broadest model. Or the narrowest model is this is a narrow heter. When you pick something up, LeTsorech Makomo, you can put it down wherever you want. So and anywhere in between. That's our shaila. So for example, just going through scenarios, would it include the case where you picked up Muktza Be'issa? I accidentally pick up my phone on Shabbos. I shouldn't have done that. I feel really terrible. I'll hate, but now I've got it in my hands. I can put it down where it's convenient. Or does it include only the heter, but even other things? So those who looked up some of the references of the Gon, for example, if I pick up Muktza on Erev Shabbos and then Shabbos starts, so I picked up a heter when it was in my hands. Can I now keep it in my hands? Keep it in my hands because I picked it up the heter. So there's a series of examples. There's a Gemara that the Gon references in Daf Lamed Vov, in Daf Mem Gimel of a shofar, where you pick up a shofar on Erev Shabbos and then whatever, and then you don't put it down. Then there's so the whole series of that. Then what happens if I pick something up, the heter, and now it becomes osa? So there's a number of scenarios of this. One case is, and they may all be different. One case is an Ismail Shalmila. So the Moyal is allowed to pick it up because he's got the bris milah to do. But it's sort of a type of nidcha. It's sort of pushed aside by a greater need that had to do the milah. But as soon as he finishes the milah, does he immediately have to put it down because it's muktzah? What type of muktzah is it? Not just a klishim lachta issa, but chasor and kiss. It's a sensitive kli. We learned the earlier sukkahs that there's a sort of super klishim lachta issa which ceases to be a kli. The whole logic of kli is that it's by default omed for any other use. But a sensitive kli that you wouldn't use for anything else, like an Ismail Shalmila, is not omed for any other use, so it becomes very much. So does the male have to put it down, or can he conveniently put it away in his briefcase before after finishing use? And then you have sort of very interesting shilas. Again, these are not my own ideas. I just look at them from the poskim. You're eating a peach or a plum, or plums of pips, stones. Yeah, plums of stones. Okay, so it's not muktzah; it's a fruit. But when you finish, you've now got left in your hands a stone. A stone is muktza. I mean, the stone. It's not a stone. It's not Evan. I mean, the stone, the pip, the thing. Do you have to discard it immediately, or you have to go to the bin and put it in the bin because you've got muktza in your hand? Then they talk about another scenario where something becomes muktza in your hands, which is hafrashas challah. So Yom Tov, you're allowed to bake. So someone makes challahs, and then mafresh challah. So they break off a piece of dough. The dough is not muktza; it's dough, and they say harizu challah, and now it becomes muktza because bisman hazeh, immediately upon it becoming challah, it becomes tommy, and that's why we don't give it to kohanim, and we dispose of it. We double wrap it and put it in the bin, or we burn it, or whatever. Or we leave it to go rot, whatever our minhag is. But it becomes muktza. So again, do you need to immediately dispose of it, or no? Once it's in your hands, you're allowed to carry on using it. So there's a whole array of shilas around how far this heter goes, and these are very nogei Halacha. Is this a narrow heter of muktzah machmas of LeTsorech Mekomai, or is it a really broad heter that once you've got muktzah in your hands, you might as well carry on moving it, or is it somewhere between? Does it make it a bit different if you picked it up a heter, or even where you picked it up a issa? All of these are shilas. So the only Mara Mokum I printed inside that's explicit about this is the Magen Avraham. The Magen Avraham going on the words Lanicha be'ezah Mokum. You can place it wherever you want. And he says, Kiven shuhu biyadoi, since it's already in your hands, Rishayot al yosa, then you're allowed to move it more. V'nirali tafilu shachach v'not lo biyadoi, even if you've forgotten you took it in your hands, Rishayot al yosa, you're allowed to move it more. So the Magen Avraham is of the opinion that even in a case where you took it be'issa, you accidentally picked up muktzah, you're allowed to carry on. You're allowed to carry on moving around. That's the view of the Magen Avraham. So what I really want to do in the little bit of time that we have is just share with you several svaros that the Achronim give as to why once it's in your hands you should be allowed to move it, and some of the nafkaminas that emerge as to how these halachas would apply. Yes. Yes. Yes, you could say such a svara. Yes, yeah, and that's one of the svaras floating around. So yeah, 100%.
Interesting, he says,
yes,
so that's
a very, very nice deal.
There could be a situation where you deliberately did it, but actually, and then Shabbat came in, it's not a blank allowance.
Right, so you could say where you deliberately did it on Erev Shabbos, and that would be stricter. And does the Magen Avraham mean to exclude a case where you deliberately picked it up on Shabbos?
Yeah.
And then you're chayzer b'tshuva, right? So someone deliberately picks up Muktza and then regrets it, and then thinks, why am I messing around with Shabbos? And do they need to put it down immediately or not? So these are all good shilas, yeah. Right, okay, but at least it's a shogeg, yeah. So I'll just share like some of the sorrows floating around. There is one sorrow which I'll start with Karen's sorrow since you mentioned that. I think this is what you were saying. There is a tzlach. Tzlach is from the Noda B'Yehuda, a parish on Shas that the Noda B'Yehuda wrote, which I don't think we've mentioned in this shit before. In Brachos, actually, we mentioned tzlach once. Who was here when we learned in Brachos? Besides only you, Adam, and yeah, quite a lot of us. Okay, you, Martin, you were there. Oh, and I'm sorry, I'm so mad. Yeah. You're all there for Brachos. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Max. Okay, you're all there for Brachos. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So anyway, we did learn the slach or two in Brachos. Sorry, you remember the slach? No. Okay. You always nodded enthusiastically. Do you remember the slach? Martin, remember the slach? Okay. So the slach says that the svara is, you see that the problem of Muktza is taking it, is lifting it up. But once it's in your hands and you're continuing to move it around, that's not an issa Muktza. The problem of Muktza is tiltul, netilah, taking. Once you've taken it, you've already done the issa. very sad. He shouldn't have done it, but it's too late. Being b'shogeg, being b'mezid, erev Shabbos, no issa. So the slach is of the view that you have a blanket heter over here. That's what we see from our sugya. That once you've got something in your hand, in our case, beheter, because you took it as LeTsorech makomo, there's no issa muktzah. You can walk around the whole day if you so choose. So that's, I'd say, is the broadest version of the version of the heter. The
till have to be a moving, because touching is not, it's no mixer.
correct. Yeah, no. So,
To be some movement.
100%, yes. Touching anyway is not also. You're allowed to touch Muktza. You're not allowed to pick up Muktza or move Muktza. But once you start moving it, you can continue to move it. Yeah. And we saw even using Muktza without moving it is also.
I thought the whole point was that you're allowed to use it as a transport, but not as
That's because there's subservience to the Shiur.
Okay, but again, let's just work out your point.
No one said it was really in your hand.
No one said no. Is there any evidence read in your hands?
said you're allowed to move.
Yeah. Because it's you're allowed to be metaltal it because it has the shum inside. Yeah.
Well, what would you do? Didn't we explain it there as it's something, once you're not actually using the machine to crush the thing, you're actually then using it as a container.
Yes, you're using it as a container. Yes, and the heter of meducha sheyesh b'shum is because yesh b'shum it's now a garlic container, not just a garlic press. But you'd be right. Again, there'd be the same shayla there. This would be another example. If you have a meducha sheyesh b'shum and you shake, you're allowed to pick it up. If you then shake the shum out, are you allowed to carry on moving it? That again would be part of our shayla. Okay. There is the narrowest interpretation of this heter is emerges from, I think, from the writings of the Vilna Gaon, which I didn't print here. He says an interesting story, which I'm sort of kind of got my head around and somewhat not. He seems to argue that once it's in your hand, that's a type of tzorech makomo. In other words, the logic of you're allowed to move LeTsorech makomo. That means part of the normal use of kalim is moving them out of the way. Once now you've got this keli sitting in your hand, you don't want it in your hand, so you can move it. Your hand though is going along to wherever you want your hand to be, and you want it off your responsibility. So why can't you put it to wherever is convenient to dispose of it? In other words, he seems to see it as a extension of the svara of LeTsorech makomo. We saw language in the Rishonim. We saw the Rashba and others who use language of that right, that was how they explained the Rashba. The logic of LeTsorech makomo is that any useful keli is not just made for its use, but is also made for its tidying up afterwards. That's the whole rationale of tzorech makomo. That it's not just mutter to move something. It's not just mutter to use something. It's also mutter to tidy things up. So the svara here would be that after you finish using something, it's mutter distalik achat hashmishon, and therefore there seems to be a svara that you can put it wherever you want. That's all part of the heter of LeTsorech makomo. So that I think, is everyone with me here? So the most extreme version of the heter would be the whole issur of Muktza is to pick things up. Once you've picked it up, you've damage done, and therefore you might as well move it to wherever you want. The narrowest version of the heter would be a mere extension to tzorech makomo. That the heter of moving. Why are you allowed to move something tzorech makomo, a Muktza item tzorech makomo? Why are you allowed to move a kli shemachta l'isur l'tzorech makomai? So we saw a language of the Rashba that in the same way as all kelim are only to serve you to be moved l'tzorech gufan, that you use them for whatever use you can have it, kelim are also made to shuffle out of the way when they're blocking other use. That's what tzorech makomai is. Kelim are there to serve you, so you can move them out of the way. If a keli is there to serve you as miyuchad to be moved out of the way, part of that svara is that the keli is there to be placed wherever wherever you wish to place it when you're moving it out of your way. So in that version, all we're proving from our Gemara is that tzorech makomai is allowed to put it to wherever is convenient. That's all part of tzorech makomai. Of course, tzorech makomai says you can move it out of the way. If you can move it out of the way, of course you can put it down where it's convenient. And that doesn't tell you anything about once Muktza is in your hands, being allowed to carry on moving it. So that's the narrowest hat of tzorech makomai. Are people with me here? Yeah. No, I'm puzzled. Yeah.
Why is it narrow? And such a different story. Why is that narrow? Either way, you can still continue to move it until you put it down. Why is that narrow?
You wouldn't be able to extrapolate to any general rules about once you've picked up Muktza, you can carry on moving it. It's only as far in tzorech makomai. One version was, you see from our circuit that once you have Muktza in your hand, you can carry on moving it. And that is indeed what the LeTsorech seems to say. He says, you see from this, it doesn't prove it just from here, he's got other reasons. The thing is, he says, you see that once Muktza is in your hand, all damage done and carry on moving it. So that's a very broad hatter, the broadest possible hatter. However Muktza gets into your hand, once it's in your hand, damage done, you can now carry on moving it. The opposite approach would be, no, all you see in our Gemara is a very, very small chiddush. That when you pick something up, and the whole logic of being allowed to move it l'tzorech makomai is because kelim aren't just, again, a hammer is there to knock nails into the wall. The logic of allowing you to move it l'tzorech gufay is because the hammer is only made for any hatter use you can have. Rabbi Nechemia disagrees with that, and he says, no, it's only made for its mutter use. But even Rabbi Nechemia agrees, according to Rava, that you can move it l'tzorech makomai, because all kelim are only made for shoving them out of the way if you want to use the space. Are all kelim only to be shoved out of the way? Are you minimal movement? Or no, kelim are only to be moved to wherever you wish to put them if you need the space. In which case, once you pick it up, you can put it down where you want. So in this logic, all you see from the Gemara the Gemara said that you can move ka'oros, you can tidy up on Shabbos. All you see in the Gemara is that tidying up, don't mistranslate tzorech makomai to mean minimalist, just move it out of the way. Tzorech makomai means you can tidy something up and move it maximalist out of the way to wherever is convenient for you to go. So in that version, the chiddush of the Rashba is very, very narrow. It's not a big principle that whenever you have Muktza in your hand, you can always keep moving it. It's a very narrow chiddush that tzorech makomai means you can move things to a convenient spot. So we'll stop there. I'm tired, and I see everyone else is also tired. Mr. Hashem, on Sunday we'll revisit and we'll try and understand these stories. Maybe I'll give you some of the sources inside, so you can explore them inside and see where this goes.